Inflammation is something most people associate with sore joints, injuries, or infections. But researchers are increasingly asking a different question. Could inflammation also influence memory and mental clarity? For many adults, memory changes seem to appear gradually. Names become harder to remember. Conversations require more concentration. Reading takes longer. Mental fatigue becomes more common. And because these changes often develop slowly, most people assume they're simply part of getting older. But scientists have begun exploring whether something deeper may also be involved. At first, the signs are easy to dismiss. You walk into a room and forget why. You reread the same paragraph. You lose your train of thought during conversations. Simple tasks feel strangely exhausting. Naturally, people blame stress, lack of sleep, or age itself. They drink more coffee. They make lists. They solve crossword puzzles. They try to push through the fog. And while these strategies may help to some degree, many people still feel frustrated, because the effort doesn't always seem to match the results. Over time, that frustration becomes emotional. People begin questioning themselves. They wonder whether they're becoming forgetful. They fear they're losing their sharpness. Some even avoid conversations because they feel embarrassed when words don't come as easily as they once did. For decades, memory problems were viewed primarily through the lens of aging. But researchers are increasingly interested in the hidden systems that support brain function. And inflammation has become one of the most studied areas. Inflammation itself isn't bad. In fact, it's one of the body's natural defense mechanisms. When you cut your finger or fight an infection, inflammation helps the body heal. The problem isn't inflammation. The problem is when inflammation becomes chronic and low-grade. Because unlike the short-term inflammation that helps repair damage, persistent inflammation may affect tissues and systems throughout the body, including the brain. The brain depends on billions of neurons communicating with one another every second. These communication pathways allow us to remember names, focus on conversations, process information, and make decisions. Think of those pathways like roads connecting different cities. When roads are clear, traffic flows smoothly. But when construction zones, accidents, and congestion begin appearing everywhere, delays become unavoidable. Cars still move, but efficiency decreases. Eventually, simple trips take much longer than they used to. Researchers believe something similar may occur inside the brain. Inflammation may influence neurons and the pathways they use to communicate. And because memory and concentration depend on those networks functioning efficiently, even subtle disruptions may become noticeable over time. Scientists are also studying how inflammation interacts with other systems: cellular energy, blood sugar regulation, oxidative stress, metabolic health, neural communication. These systems do not operate independently. They influence one another continuously, which means cognitive health may be shaped by multiple factors working together rather than a single cause. That's important because many people search for one explanation, one reason, one answer. But biology is rarely that simple. Think of the brain like an orchestra. Memory isn't produced by a single violin. It depends on every section working together. The strings, the brass, the percussion, the conductor. When communication remains synchronized, the music flows beautifully. But if timing begins to break down, the audience notices that something feels different, even if they can't identify exactly why. The same may be true for cognitive health. The real issue isn't inflammation itself. It's how chronic inflammation may influence the systems that allow the brain to communicate, process information, and generate energy efficiently. That perspective changes the conversation. Because many people blame themselves unnecessarily. They assume they haven't done enough. They worry they are becoming less intelligent. They fear memory changes mean something irreversible is happening. But researchers increasingly recognize that brain health is extraordinarily complex. Age matters, but age alone rarely tells the whole story. Inflammation, metabolism, cellular energy, oxidative stress, neural communication. All of these factors may contribute to how the brain performs over time. And while scientists are still learning, one thing has become increasingly clear. Memory isn't simply about remembering. It's about maintaining the systems that make remembering possible. Understanding those systems provides something many people desperately need: perspective. Because experiencing brain fog or memory changes doesn't necessarily mean you're losing yourself. Sometimes it means there are deeper mechanisms worth understanding. And as research continues to evolve, our understanding of inflammation and brain health will likely continue evolving as well. If you'd like a structured breakdown and a practical guide exploring these concepts in greater detail, you'll find additional resources in the description below. And if you enjoy educational discussions about memory, inflammation, and healthy aging, consider subscribing. Understanding how the brain works may be one of the most valuable investments we can make for the future.